What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Talking with Beauties, episode 141, the Wednesday news. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes because they won the national championship. Plus, the Dodgers signed a couple big names to their roster, and Connor McDavid got suspended a couple games for high cross-checking. But first, let's head into Uniform Watch. So starting on Uniform Watch today, we got 3 new uniforms to talk about. We're going to start off in the NHL. We're going to start off with the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings announcing their Stadium Series jerseys. I got the Red Wings jersey on right now, the white one. Love their classic reds and whites. They look super good. Columbus, that jersey, overall, honestly, not that bad. Just looking for a rebrand, I think, and I think what they just did with their Stadium Series jersey could be the future of what the Columbus Blue Jackets branding will turn out to be. We'll start off with the home team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, hosting the Stadium Series in 2025. This is a navy or blue jersey. I think they're calling it navy, with the Cannon logo on the front. Just the Cannon, no circle behind it. The classic Cannon logo is kind of stripped away. Only seeing that Cannon logo looks great down there. Down the middle, we have a small red stripe, normal navy stripe, and a thick silver stripe with that shiny effect that we see the LA Kings have, that we see the Golden Knights have on that silver accents there. On the arms, we have enlarged numbers on the top. I really like that. I think the angled thick silver stripe looks kind of cool. The chevron look is what they're going for, followed by another navy stripe with a thin red stripe at the bottom of the striping there. On the shoulders, we got a navy shoulders with red collar, Stadium Series logo on one side, and the brand new logo that we're seeing on the opposite side. This is a CBJ logo, crossed hockey sticks, CBJ on each of the spacing in between with a star at the very bottom. Very simple, looks pretty solid, I think. It's a good alternate logo. Definitely would not work on the front of a jersey, but really good alternate logo for the Jackets there. And then the captain patch is a red outline of the state of Ohio with the A or the C in the middle of it. So overall, that jersey looks really good. But we got more from the pictures. We got some pants. We got navy base, same striping as we see in the middle of the jersey. Going down the side of this jersey, and the logo for the pants, instead of the CBJ or the Cannon, we have just a simple star logo as the logo on the pants. For the gloves, simple, all navy, white lettering. Helmet, navy, with large numbers on the side. What do I rate it out of 10? Because we rate all the jerseys that come on this podcast. What do I rate out of 10? I give it a 9.5 out of 10. I love these uniforms. I think the shoulder patch logo, talking to the podcast dad, I think the CBJ should be oriented differently. It's Columbus Blue Jackets from left to right. I think Columbus, the C needs to be the top one, and BJ on the outsides, because the way it looks, you kind of read it a little bit different. I read it BCJ. But that's just the way I see it. Maybe other people don't have that problem. That's the only problem I see with that logo. And the big chevron silver on the striping. The silver, I think it's just a little too thick. I would just make that a little bit smaller. But I also understand you're in the Stadium Series, you have the enlarged look, so you're able to see it from as far away as possible. That's why they got the big numbers on the arms. Probably the reason why they had the big silver striping on the arms as well. Personally, just do not like it. I like the big numbers. I like the big logos and stuff like that. But I just don't like that striping. That's the only thing I would change out of that. 9.5 out of 10. Pretty much perfect, though. Absolutely love this jersey. Now for the Red Wings. Personally, I like the Red Wings better of these two. I was born in Toledo, so I got a little bit of soft spot for the Red Wings here. They went with the opposite. They went white jersey with a very classic-looking font on the front. A font that we have not seen before with the Red Wings. A red Detroit cursive font as the front of the logo. Very similar, in my eyes, to the Michigan Wolverines word font script logo that they have on their yellow or maize jerseys. I don't know if that's really what they went for. Personally, I don't think I found anything online for that, but I think that is what they're going for there. Classic Michigan versus Ohio State matchup with these two teams here. I thought there was going to be more inspiration from each school. Looks like the Blue Jackets didn't take anything from that. Looks like the Red Wings honestly didn't take too much from that either. But that logo really does remind me of the Michigan Wolverines there. So I think that is what they're going for. So I really like that kind of touch there. But looks really good regardless of it. Then we got a thick red stripe down the middle of the jersey. Very simple. Large red numbers up on the arms. Very similar to Columbus. Easy to see in the stands. A thick red stripe underneath that armor is followed by a white stripe. Then a full red down the sleeve. The shoulders, very simple. White Red Wings logo. The classic Red Wings logo on the front of their normal jerseys. Up on one of the shoulders, the Stadium Series logo on the opposite. Then you got a thick red collar just like this one. Hockey Town in the back hanger effect of the jersey. For the pants, we got red pants, a thin white stripe, and Hockey Town as the team logo. So that same one that's in the back of the collar effect for the jersey is on the pants as the team logo for that one. Gloves, looks very good. Red glove base, white fingers, and white letters. For the helmet, very different. We haven't seen a lot of this before. I think the last time we saw it was Philadelphia and Pittsburgh during their Stadium Series. They really went for a football-themed helmet. It's a red-based helmet with a white stripe down the middle, and their classic wings coming off the sides. Very similar to like a Philadelphia Eagles look as the wings coming off the sides. That's what they went for. No wheel, just the wings coming off the side. Absolutely love the helmets. I think it looks great. I think you can make an argument that the white stripe down the middle probably doesn't have to be there. But regardless, I think it looks great. I love that they incorporated that football-style helmet into this. Have fun with it. Stadium Series jerseys should have more fun. Don't always have to go that classic route. This just looks great out of the park. Obviously, we're not going to see a lot of this at all when it comes to normal uniforms because of the stupid ads we're seeing on jerseys, on helmets, and who knows further down the line on where those ads are going to go. But I think if there was no ads and teams would be just brave enough to not put ads on their helmets, I think more teams should go to this kind of route using big logos like this. I think the Red Wings hit it out of the park here on that. What do I rate this jersey out of 10? I give it a 9.8 out of 10. I absolutely love the jersey. I think that everything looks super good. I think using only 2 colors in this uniform looks awesome. It's hard to make 2 colors work on certain jerseys. I think the Red Wings are one of those teams that do it on the normal uniforms. I think they did it well on this Stadium Series jersey. I think not going like a off-white or beige or cream color, whatever you want to call that, and just going with a simple white and red looks great. The only thing I would change is pretty much the logo on the front. I'm just not a huge fan of script across the front. I think the Detroit script is just lacking a little bit of a character in this one. But overall, I'm okay that they went that route. I see the innovation between them and the Red Wings and the Wolverines. Kind of see that connection there. That's the reason why I kind of like the logo a lot more than I think I normally would. But overall, that's really the only reason why I don't give it a perfect 10 out of 10. I think this jersey looks great. If I have the money and I have the chance to get this jersey, I will get that jersey because I think it looks great. I think the whole uniform looks awesome. I love the gloves. I love the helmet. Pants look great with that red. I think overall, nailed it out of the park. I think both uniforms look outstanding. Both really good. It's going to be, I think, one of the best outdoor jersey matchups we're going to have since I think the 2014 Stadium Series when it was in the Big House with Detroit versus Toronto. We had that red versus blue, really classic looking uniforms for that Winter Classic. I think it's going to be the first time since that we're going to have perfect uniform matchups here. So I really like both of them. Both teams hit it out of the park. All right, now let's head to the Chicago Cubs. That was the last team we're going to talk about for the uniform watch. They came out with a new uniform. This is really normal to, honestly, the modern day alternate uniforms. Bringing out a powder blue uniform for the alternates. Chicago has had powder blue uniforms in the past. The very first time, that they had one was in 1981. So they went back to this powder blue, first introduced by the Cubs in 1981 with the new logo and font that we have not seen before from the team. So the red numbers on the front and the back, and we're seeing a kind of, I would almost call it Western looking for you audio listeners, but the way they're calling it is Blues era font. Obviously, I'm showing pictures right now of the uniform. Honestly, I don't mind it. I think the font looks cool. It's different. It's modern, but yet kind of classic looking. I don't know how they did it, but it looks really good. The new logo on the side looks like the normal logo, but with that new font incorporated there. So same color, same orientation. Cubs, big C with the UBS inside of the C. Overall, it looks really good. That's on the opposite side of the numbers. On the back, you got the red numbers, you got the blue letters for the players' names, both outlined in white, so it really does pop off of that powder blue. Overall, they said the uniform pays tribute to the team's history and Chicago's contribution to the electric blue movement. Also, we have a new hat for the Cubs. We have a white crown hat with a dark navy blue bill in the back of the hat, but the white crown holds that new Cubs logo that we're seeing on the front of the uniform with a red button top. Just kind of a splash of color there. The only other thing I did miss is they have a new arm patch or arm sleeve patch for the Cubs. It is a guitar pick, and then the word Chicago inside of it, kind of mapping out the guitar pick sign. Inside of the C in the middle is a star of Chicago. The flag has stars on it. They incorporated that, a little bit of that. So a little red touch inside that logo as well. What do I give this uniform out of 10? Honestly, I give it a 7.7. I think it looks pretty good. I'm not seeing too much that really kind of drags me to like really like it all that much. I think the powder blue phase is kind of overdone. I think there's teams out there that really shouldn't have them. I think the Cubs are one team that should. I mean, they're mainly a blue colored team. I think teams like St. Louis should not have powder blues. I mean, they're a red team. Yeah, they have a little bit of blue in their uniforms and logos, but powder blue for the St. Louis Blues or St. Louis Cardinals just doesn't seem to work for me. I think the Cubs are one of those teams that does seem to work, and I'm okay with having those powder blues. So I like them. They're all right. They're nothing too special for me, though. I just think they're just all right. So 7.7 out of 10 for me. All right, let's head to college football now. We got crowned a national champion last night. Number 8, Ohio State played number 7, Notre Dame, and Ohio State won this one 34-23. Big win for the Buckeyes up there. They won their 9th national title, their first since 2014, which ties them 6th all-time in programs with USC with 9 national titles for football. But let's go into the box scores of the game. Will Howard, 17-21, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16 carries, 57 yards on the ground. Quinshaw Junkins, 11 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 21 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. Jeremiah Smith, 5 receptions, 88 yards, 1 touchdown. Riley Leonard on the other side of the ball, 22-31, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 carries, 40 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground. And Jaden Greathouse, 6 receptions, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. What are my takeaways from this game? Honestly, Notre Dame on that first drive took 9 minutes and 45 seconds to score a touchdown. Riley was all over the field. He was throwing, he was running. He actually went off the field and threw up after that drive. He looked beat up after that first drive. And I don't know if that really did play a factor going into the rest of the game. But ever since that first drive, personally, I did not think Notre Dame was all that great. Ohio State was very consistent. They were able to score on every drive after the fact. I think 3 out of the 4 drives going into halftime, they scored a touchdown. So they were up 21-7 going into halftime. They looked really good. Notre Dame just did not have answers after that first drive. And it seemed like it was going to be all Notre Dame based off of how that drive went. But Ohio State slowed them down, able to get it going. And they looked more like the dominant team that they have been all playoff long. They only trailed for that one drive. They were able to answer back, plus take the lead on the second possession of their game. But Ohio State, very dominant, led by double digits going into that game from over almost 2 full games worth of time. So absolutely dominance from the very beginning of games, and Ohio State just pretty much just put the beat down on those teams all playoff long. And Notre Dame was just the next team up. The other thing I saw was pretty much the offensive options for Ohio State was much more spread out compared to Notre Dame. I thought Notre Dame's offensive choices was Riley's going to throw it to Greathouse or Riley's going to run. I think that was pretty much the only two options that Notre Dame had that were working last night, where it looked like Ohio State had chances with Will Howard to run. Their two running backs, Junkins or Henderson, even though Henderson did do all that well statistically wise, they had two options there with those two guys. Plus, they have 2 or 3 receivers that can make great plays. So it just seemed like they had a lot more options and a lot more play calls that they could do with Chip Kelly's offense there. So it looked like Ohio State just had better options and just really just wore down that defense of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Ultimately, yes, it was a 2-score game, but honestly, it was really close near the end. Notre Dame did make a fight for it. Mitch Jeter did missing a big field goal near the end. Really did solidify how bad Notre Dame's field goal percentage has been all season long. And it's just a tough time to miss that field goal, which could have changed the outcome of how you're going to go into the next couple of possessions. Notre Dame still was able to get into good chances, just not able to have enough time to do so. So, Ohio State, congrats to you. Big win. I'm a big Buckeye fan, so I'm happy and excited for that. I also was rooting for Notre Dame as well, so it was really hard for me to root for one team here, but I was blown away by actually how close it was near the end, how entertaining that game was, despite it kind of being a blowout near the middle of the game. Some news outside of the national championship game. Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian re-signs with the team. He'll be there for the next 7 years. The ACC announced that they are potentially changing their conference championship game. They're considering 2 options. One, not even having the conference champ, the number 1 overall in the conference, play in a conference championship game, and just having the second and third place team play against each other, which would honestly free up space for another playoff team potentially, because you know that your top team is not going to be losing, which unfortunately this last season with Clemson and SMU was in the spot to get a bye. They lost that game, still made playoffs, but did lose a bye. Really, honestly, turned out to be a really bad thing for SMU because they had to go to Penn State and just did not have a good offensive game in that one, in a tough place to play, which is Penn State. So maybe they're trying to avoid that. Their second option is to have a mini tournament. The first place team will face the fourth place team, and the second place team will play the third place team. The winners of those will play against each other in the title game. I don't know how they have enough space in the season to do this. I know that they're one of the conferences that does not play 9 games in a conference. They play 8. So they could probably move one of those out of conference games into one of these games, but what will that do with everybody else? Do you make a conference game for everybody else? Do you let them only play 11 games and the other teams play 12? Does everyone play 12 and these guys will play 13 or 14 games before even the playoffs start? I don't think that's a very likely option. I think option number 1 is most likely, where the conference champ doesn't play. Conference 2 and 3 placements play for the conference title, I guess. I don't like either option. I think the ACC is just worried about losing their best players or best teams because of the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't blame them. I mean, we saw it in the last committee, and their own teams beat up on each other. But I don't know if this is the best option. But that's what they're talking about. It's not for sure, but it's just out there right now. And the last thing is the College Football Playoff Committee is talking about making some changes, but reportedly there might not be any changes. They were talking about the first round byes not going to conference champions and just going to the best 4 teams left in the playoffs. They're sounding like that is not going to be a change there, so that is probably not going to be changed. So I'm most likely no changes whatsoever going into next year. And the other thing they said, quarterfinal games could be hosted by the first round bye team. So we're going to see more more campus games for the upcoming years. That is not confirmed or denied yet, but they're talking about that being a potential thing for that. So I don't know what this means for the New Year's 6 bowl games. Does this mean that they're going to rotate 2 of those to be semifinal games and the other 4 will go to other teams that are not in playoffs? So really, does that make those bowl games even better or worse? I don't know. Seems kind of weird. I don't know how they're going to do that. So something to talk about. That's all that they're discussing right now. But it's just worth mentioning for sure. All right, let's head to the NFL quickly. We're going to talk about this past weekend's game. We got 4 games to talk about. We'll start off with Houston versus Kansas City. Kansas City winning this one 23-14. CJ Stroud 245 yards. Joe Mixon 88 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Nico Collins 81 yards. Will Anderson did have a good game though, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for losses, 4 total tackles. But the kicking game, Fairbairn missed an extra point, the only extra point chance he had, and went 2 for 4 on field goals, which honestly would have changed the game a lot for Houston. But on the other side, not a very good offensive game. Mahomes 177 yards, 1 touchdown. Kelsey, great game, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. George Karlaftis played outstanding on the defensive side, 3 sacks, 5 total tackles. That defense, though, for Kansas City was electric. 8 sacks, 14 quarterback hits on CJ. Very tough day for the Texans there. Houston becomes the first team in NFL postseason history to outgain their opponent by 100-plus yards and have no turnovers, and yet they still lost. Teams leading into that game were 49-0, so not a good statistic to be on there. A couple questionable calls in that game. I won't get into too much detail, but definitely some questionable calls that I think a lot of people will take a look back and will scratch their head over. Next up, we had Washington and Detroit. Washington upsetting Detroit in this one, 45-31. Not a good offensive performance from the Lions. We'll start off with Washington. Daniels, nearly 300 yards passing, 51 yards on the ground, 2 total touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. McLaren, 87 yards, a touchdown. Dorrance Armstrong, 2 sacks, 3 total tackles. And Mike Soundstill had 2 interceptions in that game. Quan Martin had a pick 6 in that game. So great game up and down from the defensive and offensive side for the Washington Commanders. For the Detroit Lions, not a good game. Golf, 313 yards, yes, but 3 interceptions, 1 fumble loss, only 1 touchdown in that. Gibbs looked great, though. 2 total touchdowns, 70 yards in the air, 105 yards on the ground. St. Brown, 137 yards in the air, and Laporta, 51 yards and a touchdown for him. So great game by some of these outstanding guys like Gibbs, Brown, and Laporta, but Goff had a really bad game, one of the worst games we've seen him play all season long, and it really did just cost him in the end. So Lions go home unexpectedly, and Washington just keeps on rolling. Next up, we got LA versus Philadelphia. We got Philadelphia winning this one 28-22. Matthew Stafford, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have a fumble loss, which ended up being very costly. Williams, 19 carries, 106 yards, also had a fumble loss, which also was very costly near the end of that game. Definitely could tell the weather factor was big in this one. A lot of issues, both sides of the ball for both teams. Puka Nacua, 97 yards. Robinson was 74 yards. Jared Verse, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 total tackles. Rams defense looked good. 10 tackles for loss, 7 of those were sacks. On the other side, not a lot of offense from Hurts, 128 passing yards, but 70 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley, lights out, 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Carter, 2 sacks, 5 total tackles. Really strong performance from the defense, and Saquon Barkley for the Eagles. And the last game of the night, Baltimore versus Buffalo. Buffalo just squeaking out of this one, 27-25. Though we'll start off with Jackson and the Ravens. Jackson, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble lost. Derrick Henry, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. Honestly, was not as electric as we normally have seen Derrick Henry leading into that game, so kind of unexpected to watch that. Isaiah Likely, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Mark Andrews, 61 yards, 1 fumble lost, and 1 dropped 2-point conversion, which would have tied the game. Who knows what would have happened near the end of that one, but a big, costly drop that Mark Andrews is going to be haunted over for the rest of the postseason here. Josh Allen on the other side, 127 pass yards, nothing crazy, but 2 rushing touchdowns on 20 yards. James Cook, 67 yards on 17 carries. So let's get into conference championship. We got Eagles versus Commanders. Eagles, a 6-point favorite in this one. I got the Eagles winning this one. I think the Eagles And Saquon Barkley is going to be hard to stop. I think that's just going to be lights out there. Washington had a good run, but I don't think they're going to make it past the Eagles in this one. Next up, we got Buffalo versus Kansas City. Kansas City, a 2-point favorite. I think Kansas City wins this one. It's going to be close. I don't even think they cover. I think it might be only a 1-point game in this one. I think it's going to be really entertaining, though. I think Buffalo has the best chance out of every team right here to beat Kansas City. But how much are they going to get bailed out by the refs? I don't know. It feels like every game they get bailed out. Hopefully this is not a factor into this game and we get a really classic Buffalo versus Kansas City game. Hopefully Josh Allen plays his ass off and we're able to see a new team in the Super Bowl, but I would not be surprised to see Kansas City get back to the Super Bowl for a third straight year. All right, let's head to college hockey. Obviously, let's start off with the notable results. We'll start off on Friday. Number 11, Boston University beat number 18, New Hampshire, 6-3. Number 17, UConn beat number 6, Maine, 4-2. Providence got shut out by number 2, Boston College, 3-0. Number 1, Michigan State lost to number 10, Michigan in overtime, 3-2. Number 5, Western Michigan beat number 16, North Dakota in overtime, 3-2. Arizona State, ranked 13, beat number 14, St. Cloud State, 6-3. Then we had to Saturday. Number 20, Clarkson lost to Brown, 4-2. Number 18, New Hampshire lost to Boston University, 2-1 in overtime. Stonehill beat number 9, UMass Lowell in overtime, 3-1. Notre Dame beat number 3, Minnesota in overtime, 4-3. Number 17, UConn tied number 6, Maine. Number 13, Arizona State beat number 14, St. Cloud, 5-3. Cornell beat tied number 15, Quinnipiac, 2-2. Number 2, Boston College beat number 4, Providence, 4-1. Number 5, Western Michigan beat number 16, North Dakota, 5-1. Michigan Tech shut out and won in overtime, 1-0 against number 12, Minnesota State. Number 10, Michigan lost to number 1, Michigan State, 4-1. And lastly, Minnesota Duluth beat number 19, Colorado College, 4-1. So with that being said, let's head into the top 20. We got a lot of moves here. Start off with a new number 1 in town, Boston College. They jump up 1-1. Michigan State drops 1-2. Minnesota stays put at 3. Western Michigan gets a +1 to 4. Denver gets a +1 to 5. Providence drops 2 to 6. Maine drops 1 to 7. Ohio State stays put at 8. Boston University gets a +2 to 9. Michigan stays put at 10. Arizona State gets a +2 to 11. UConn gets a +5 to 12. UMass Lowell drops 4 to 13. Minnesota State drops 2 to 14. Quinnipiac stays put at 15. North Dakota stays put at 16. St. Cloud drops 3 to 17. New Hampshire, Colorado, Colorado College, stay put at 18 and 19, and Cornell goes from unranked to 20. Clarkson's the only team to drop out of the rankings. Other receiving votes, we actually had Clarkson, Augustana, UMass, Dartmouth, and Northeastern as the top 5 schools with receiving votes. So typically we head into Arizona State Update of the Week. This week we got a different format. We got standings breakdown of each of the standings for college hockey. So I'm going to pop up a new graphic here. We'll start off with the Atlantic Hockey. Very close, not as close as some of the other conferences that we'll see here. Sacred Heart has this one, 41 points. Bentley with 34. Niagara right behind them with 32. In the Big Ten, we have Michigan State leading this one only by a point over Minnesota. 32 points for Michigan State, 31 points for Minnesota. Ohio State's got 23 and Michigan with 20. So really, honestly, it's just a 4-way tie or 4-way race up at the top. But really, with those two, Michigan State and Minnesota leading the pack there. The CCHA Conference, we have Minnesota State with 35 points, Bowling Green with 29, and Michigan Tech with 28. A lot closer than I expected. We'll see what Minnesota State could do going into later on in the season. But Bowling Green and Michigan Tech are right there. ECHC Conference, we got Quinnipiac leading out with 28 points, Dartmouth with 22, Union with 21, and Clarkson with 21. Personally, I don't think Quinnipiac's going to lose this conference. I think Quinnipiac, just give them some more time. They'll separate themselves from the pack. Right now, a 6-point lead from second place. The Hockey East Conference, we got Boston University with 28 points, Maine with 29, Boston College with 26, and UConn with 24. Very close race here in the Hockey East. Honestly, I can see any one of these 4 teams winning it. I think we're going to see a Boston team win it, though. I think it's going to be either Boston University or Boston College, but anything could happen with these teams. A lot of good hockey left in the season with these guys. So anything could happen, but BU does have that lead by 2 points. And lastly, the NCHC, Arizona State, first time in the conference, they lead this one by only 1 point. They got 25 points, where Western Michigan's right behind them with 24. Western Michigan's having a great year this year, 15-4-1. Did not expect it. They're fourth in the nation as well. So watch out for them. I don't think they're going to slow down anytime soon as well. So I would not be surprised to see Western Michigan win the regular season and go into that tournament with the number 1 seed there. Omaha's right behind them with 23 and North Dakota with 20. So a very close race right there at the top of the leaderboard. Arizona State, Western Michigan, Omaha, and North Dakota. Anybody could get that. But Western Michigan, definitely one of those teams you got to watch out for. All right, let's head to the Arizona State update of the weekend. Arizona State had a nice road victory this week against number 14 St. Cloud State, winning 6-3 and 5-3. Start off with Friday. Goals from 2 of them, actually, from Kerwan. Then we had Eckerly, Potter, Schmolin, and Sillinger with goals. Multi-point nights. Schmolin got 2, Gordon with 2, Sillinger with 2, and Kerwan with 3. The power play was 1 for 1, where the penalty kill was 3 for 4. And goalie Gibson Homer was 30 of 33 on saves. So really strong performance from Arizona State there. When we go into Saturday, honestly, did not have to win this game. I mean, a series split on the road against a team that's ranked with you is a good performance. They went out and won this one 5-3. Goals coming from Beck, Schlang, Ty Jackson, Sillinger, and Kerwan. Multi-point games from Beck, who had 2, Schlang, who had 4, Smolin, who had 2, and Sillinger, who had 2. But the biggest thing was power play. 4 for 8 in this one, where the penalty kill was 2 for 2. They were given a major penalty in the third period, and they scored 3 goals on that major penalty. So went 3 for 4 on that power play alone. Honestly, was the game changer in this game. Really separated themselves from the pack, and they were up 4-1 at that point in the third period. Ended up tapping in an empty netter near the end of this one. Gibson Homer, 31-34 in that game. On the weekend, 61 of 67, giving them a .910 save percentage on the weekend. So great performance by Homer and the Sun Devils. This weekend, they got number 19 Colorado College at home. Should be a tough matchup. They already have beaten tougher teams in Colorado College this year, so I would not be surprised to see a home sweep for the Sun Devils, and that is my prediction. I think Arizona State will sweep the weekend against the Tigers of Colorado College. All right, let's head to the cleanup, where we have our first NCAA softball preseason rankings that has dropped. Yes, I talked about softball on this podcast. For some reason, I love softball. I love college baseball, love college softball. So we're going to talk about that. Have not seen a college baseball preseason ranking drop yet, so I would expect it to be in the next coming weeks, since that season does start very close to softball. But let's get into this softball ranking. We got number 1, Texas, number 2, Florida, number 3, Oklahoma, number 4, Oklahoma State, number 5, Tennessee, number 6, UCLA, number 7, Texas A&M, number 8, Duke, number 9, LSU, and number 10, Texas Tech. Number 11, Alabama. Number 12, Florida State. Number 13, Arkansas. Number 14, Georgia. Number 15, Missouri. Number 16, Nebraska. Number 17, Arizona. Number 18, Virginia Tech. Number 19, Baylor. Number 20, Northwestern. Number 21, Cal. Number 22, Michigan. Number 23, Stanford. 24, nobody, because also Oregon is tied with 23 with Stanford. And number 25, Mississippi State. Personally, don't know how you don't have Oklahoma as number 1. Yes, this is preseason rankings, but Oklahoma coming off another national championship. Don't expect them to drop out of that top 5 anytime soon. So Texas, I don't think they're going to have that number 1 spot for much longer, but only time will tell. A little bit of NHL news. Tristan Jarry was placed on waivers. Pittsburgh placed him on waivers, and he actually did clear. He's got 2 years, $5.375 million AAV left on his contract. He is placed down in the minors right now with Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Edmonton did sign John Klingberg to 1 year, $1 million. It's going to help out offensively on the defensive end. Pittsburgh's Alex Nedeljkovic becomes the first goalie to record an assist and a goal in the same game. Plus, he's the first goalie to score in the NHL, AHL, and the ECHL. So congrats to you, Nedeljkovic. He actually had 2 goals in the AHL. So this guy is used to scoring these long-range empty net goals. But congrats to you, Nedeljkovic. Definitely something to be proud of there. This also marks the first season that we had 2 goalies score in one season. The other goalie this year was Minnesota's Philip Gustafsson. Lastly, from the NHL, Edmonton's Connor McDavid and Vancouver's Tyler Myers both suspended for high cross checks to the head area in the same game, but were not to each other. Both suspended 3 games for their actions. Did occur at the end of the game between these two clubs. McDavid cross-checking Garland, Meyer cross-checking Evan Bouchard off the scrum. Really stupid play by both guys, but both are suspended 3 games for their actions. And a little bit of MLB talk. The A's drop a new arm patch logo. They have replaced it from the elephant logo that we've seen last couple years with that logo on the arm for the Athletics. This time we will see a new patch. It's a rectangular shaped logo with the Tower Bridge on there, and then with the script Sacramento across the bottom. What do I get this out of 10? 3.8 out of 10 for me. I think it's a very boring logo. I love that elephant logo, so to replace the elephant logo with this logo, I think it's almost an eyesore. It looks like an ad on the uniform. Does not look really good. Doesn't look like it belongs there, so I don't like it at all. 3.8 out of 10. Also very weird for it to say Sacramento, especially when the A's are not using any sort of state or city connection to it. They're just be calling the A's this season. So very interesting move by the organization there to put Sacramento on the uniform. But whatever. I like the elephant logo better. I think that just works. But 3.8 out of 10, it's interesting. It's just not for me for sure. The Dodgers signed 2 relief pitchers, Kirby Yates, right-hander from Texas, and Tanner Scott, probably arguably the best relief pitcher on the market and one of the best lefties that we've seen in the last couple seasons. He's coming from San Diego. Honestly, I don't know how the Dodgers not just afford it, but have the roster space for all these guys. Seems like every day we see them signing a new player. So just another 2 big names going to the Dodgers once again. Lastly, Toronto signs Anthony Santander from Baltimore. A big 5-year contract for him. So we'll see what happens with him in Toronto. All right, games of the weekend. We got the NHL Panthers versus Golden Knights. That's Sunday at 5 p.m. For the NFL, Sunday, 12 p.m. NFC Championship game at 3:30 p.m. We got the AFC Championship game. So Sunday's going to be packed with NFL football. NBA, we got the Rockets versus the Cavs. That's Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Men's college basketball, went out number 6, Tennessee versus number 1, Auburn, Saturday at 5:30 p.m. on ESPN. And lastly, college hockey, number 9, Boston University versus number 1, Boston College. All right, guys, that would do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Episode 141 in the books. If you guys made it this far, make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, that bell icon, because we're going to do a lot of episodes in the next coming weeks. I got an awesome one planned out for ranking the best college football games of the whole season. I've been working on this for a while, and I think you guys are going to really like this one. Just obviously had to wait for the season to be over to release this episode. So that will be coming out in the next coming of days. So check out that one. That's going to be a lot of fun to do. And make sure you guys hit that bell so you guys are notified for that. If you guys are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you. But go check out the YouTube channel. We got a lot of YouTube exclusive episodes that do not come out on the podcast audio version side. So you guys want to go check that out. But if you guys made it this far, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. Have an awesome weekend. Make sure you guys watch some NFL. It's going to be a really fun Sunday night with both those teams. So I appreciate you guys listening to this one. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.